Hello and welcome to the West Asia Post. Today we complete 250 episodes of this show, which brings you lesser-known stories from one of the world's most volatile regions. On this show, we bring you voices from all sides to help our viewers make sense of the shifting sands of West Asia. I'm Hemkaur Saroya, bringing you the biggest flashpoints. Now, Israel's long-planned ground offensive on Gaza city is underway. Hundreds of thousands fleeing through the rubble as the United Nations accuses Israel of genocide. Our next report captures the terror, the fear, and the growing condemnation. Take a look.
Gaza City is being crushed under fire. Israeli jets and artillery are pounding the city through the night as troops push inside in what Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu calls a powerful operation. But it is not just Hamas in the crosshairs. It is an entire population on the move again.
They threw leaflets on us and told us to leave. Now there's no place for me to go to. I don't have a tent or anything. As you can see, we have been walking for 4 days.
Roads are jammed with families, balancing babies, bags, and survival on donkey carts, rickshaws, and foot. Children tremble at the sound of bombs, some too scared to sleep, others too weak from hunger to keep walking.
Where should I go? I am not leaving. Where should I go? There is nowhere to go. Where should I go? There is no place. We are staying. If we are going to die, we will die here.
Gaza's death toll has now crossed 65,000. The United Nations has already declared a famine. Now, with more than 500,000 people still inside the city, there is simply nowhere left to run. Israel insists it is targeting Hamas, estimating 3,000 fighters remain. But the United Nations warns that this offensive is pushing civilians into even deeper catastrophe.
We are scared. Of course we are scared. Everyone is scared. Everyone wants to leave. Most people left, they fled, and we are waiting. We are staying just for the patients. That's why we want to evacuate the patients before they enter further here.
World leaders are divided. The United Kingdom is calling the operation appalling. Turkiye is warning of Israel's genocide plans, and Germany demanding diplomacy. The United States alone has extended outright support to Netanyahu. A UN Commission of Inquiry has issued its most damning verdict yet, concluding Israel is committing genocide in Gaza. Accusing security forces of killings, starvation, and even trying to prevent births.
In our report, the Commission found that the Israeli authorities and Israeli security forces committed and are continuing to commit the following underlying acts of genocide against the Palestinians in the Gaza Strip.
Israel has dismissed the report as distorted and false, something it has done previously as well. But the reality on the ground is hard to deny. Gaza City, once home to millions, is now a trail of crowds and carts, a city of rubble, broken homes and broken dreams.
Israel strikes Yemen, Yemen strikes back. A tit-for-tat escalation erupts from the port of Hodeidah to the heart of Tel Aviv. Missiles, drones, sirens and shelters. The war is no longer just about Gaza. It has spread across the region. Take a look.
Smoke and flames rose at the port of Hodeidah. Israel's Air Force struck what it called military infrastructure at the Houthi-controlled docks. A warning came an hour before, then the bombs followed. Israel says the port funnels Iranian weapons into Yemen.
A few minutes ago, our pilots attacked the port of Hodeidah in Yemen. It is the main supply port for the Houthi terror regime.
But the strike triggered a fierce reaction. Within hours, the Houthis fired back. The Iran-backed rebel group boasted of a hypersonic Palestine II missile which flew almost 4,000 kilometers, hitting a sensitive target in Jaffa. Suicide drones, Houthis say, zeroed in on Ramon Airport, and they called it a victory for Gaza. Across Israel, sirens pierced the night. In Tel Aviv, in Jerusalem, in central settlements, families scrambled into shelters. Israeli media even reported that Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's plane was forced into an emergency landing during the alerts. The Israeli military claims most missiles and drones were intercepted. The UN warns the escalating conflicts with rising fatalities is getting more dangerous by the day.
I remain gravely concerned by the continued hostilities between the parties, which have resulted in scores of casualties and damaged critical infrastructure.
But the message is clear. The war now stretches more than 1,000 miles beyond Gaza. Israel vowed to keep striking Hodeidah until the Houthi terror machine is crippled. The Houthis, for their part, are promising more missiles until the assault on Gaza ends. From Hodeidah to Jaffa, a new front is now fully opened, and this conflict is no longer contained.
Turkiye's opposition is under siege. Its leader faces a court case. Its most popular figure is in jail and its supporters are taking to the streets. The government says it's justice. Critics say it's democracy under attack. Here's the story.
The streets of Ankara erupted in defiance. Thousands waved flags and chanted against President Recep Tayyip Erdogan. Their target, a court case that could strip opposition leader Özgür Özel off his job. The legal drama has shaken Turkish politics and markets to the extent that Ankara's court has postponed the hearing. Özel says the government is trying to cling to power by tearing down democratic norms. He is demanding early elections. Over 500 members of his party, the CHP, have been detained in the past year. Mayors, officials, even local leaders, all swept up on varying charges of corruption and terrorism. The government calls them legitimate investigations. The opposition calls it a political purge. The biggest blow came with the arrest of Istanbul mayor Ekrem İmamoğlu in March, Erdogan's main rival. He is now behind bars, facing a trial that could end his career, just after the party chose him as the presidential candidate.
This case is political The accusations are slander. Our comrades are innocent. What's being done is a coup against the future president, against the future government.
In a letter read at a rally, Imamoglu warned the government is trying to predetermine the next election. The crowd responded with chants of President Imamoglu. For many, his arrest was the last straw. The country is witnessing its biggest protests in a decade and a sharp, if brief, sell-off in the Turkish lira. But the crackdown continues. The mayor of an Istanbul district was detained last weekend. In a wide-ranging corruption raid, he says the allegations are baseless. The CHP is neck and neck with Erdogan's party in opinion polls.
This country needs Özgür Özel. We need peace. Democracy. We need democracy. We need jobs.
But if the courts remove Özel and keep Imamoglu in jail, the opposition could be broken before Turkey's next general election. The government denies any political motive. But rights groups, critics and political experts warn that the crackdown hinges on a shift towards a competitive authoritarian regime.
We are here for our freedom, for democracy, for rights and law. There is so much beyond these four, but the most important thing is our rights, law and justice.
The courts now hold the power to determine Turkey's political future. But the looming question is this: can the country's judiciary operate in silos independent of governing powers?
And Saudi Arabia signed a defense pact with Pakistan. Two nations with long, complicated histories are now locking shields, promising to stand shoulder to shoulder in any future war. Watch this next report on how this could alter the balance of power in West Asia.
Saudi Arabia just delivered a shockwave across West Asia's strategic fault lines. In Riyadh's palaces, Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman and Pakistan's Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif sealed a mutual defense pact. The agreement indicates Saudi Arabia cannot rely on America's umbrella anymore. Asked whether Pakistan would now be obliged to provide Saudi Arabia with a nuclear umbrella, a senior Saudi official said this is a comprehensive defense agreement that encompasses all military means. This dramatic move comes hot on the heels of an Israeli air raid on Doha targeting Hamas leaders, a strike that rattled the foundations of Gulf diplomacy. For decades, Riyadh counted on Washington's military shield, believing the US would defend its Arab allies in moments of crisis. But when missiles hammered Qatar, the world watched as the American response shrank to whispers. The defensive scope is intentionally broad. Any aggression against either country shall be considered an aggression against both, the declaration promises. Analysts say the ambiguity about Pakistan's nuclear shield is meant to leverage maximum deterrence without crossing explicit international red lines. Tel Aviv and Washington are watching this new alignment cautiously. West Asia braces, borders, intentions and red lines are shifting. In the face of fading trust, Saudi Arabia doesn't just demand stronger guarantees, it builds them. Bureau Report, WION World is One.
An emergency Arab Islamic summit in Doha has ended with strong words but limited action. After Israel's airstrike on Qatar, leaders condemned the attack as a violation of sovereignty, yet stopped short of agreeing on tough punitive measures. Here's a report.
An emergency summit of Arab and Islamic leaders has wrapped up in Doha. The gathering was prompted by Israel's deadly strike on Qatar, a strike that hit in the middle of ceasefire talks and shook regional security guarantees. The summit was strong on rhetoric. Leaders expressed solidarity with Qatar, called the attack a violation of sovereignty, and spoke of international accountability. But when it came to collective action, the unity fractured. Algeria and others pushed for severing ties with Israel. Gulf states insisted on keeping communication channels open. The final communique landed somewhere in the middle, a promise of legal and diplomatic efforts, but no shared plan of punishment.
It is more about politics and less about the sentiment. It is also more, rather strategic in the sense that the governments want to sort of create a new status quo, kind of a new situation in order to pressure Israel in some form of, new round of negotiation. And as I said, Gaza matters, but it is probably more of an amplifier rather than the only motive. I think in the end there is electoral politics.
The outcome speaks to a deeper reality. Arab states remain divided over how far to go against Israel, especially those linked to the Abraham Accords. For Qatar, the summit was about defending sovereignty. For others, it was about containing escalation. And for the people of Gaza, it meant more waiting while the humanitarian crisis deepens. Now, the world's eyes are locked on New York. More than 140 world leaders are arriving for the United Nations General Assembly. On the agenda is the future of Palestine. Saudi Arabia and France will co-chair high-level talks on a two-state solution. Several countries are expected to recognize a Palestinian state. Supporters argue this is more than symbolic, that diplomatic recognition can build pressure on Israel to halt its war in Gaza. Critics say symbolism will not stop the bombardments or feed a population starving under blockade. Israel has made its position clear. Prime Minister Netanyahu has ruled out any statehood.
There is also, I think certain countries are more motivated ideologically than politically rather than others. For example, you could, imagine that Ireland, which has its own history with civil war, etc. There is a certain ideological element, maybe in Spain as well. But other countries, I don't know, maybe France, Macron, who is on his way out very soon, he doesn't have much to lose anymore, you can say. So it has nothing to lose if he pushes that issue of recognition. So different motives for different countries.
The United States, too, is digging in, denying visas to the Palestinian leadership and opposing the push. So we are left with a contrast, a summit that spoke loudly but acted little, and a United Nations gathering that may offer diplomatic gestures, but no guarantee of change on the ground. For the people of Gaza, the choice between rhetoric and symbolism is a cruel one. Reality is still hunger, displacement, and war. Until words, whether from Doha or New York, turn into action, their suffering remains unchanged.
And can artificial intelligence really outsmart criminals? That's the bold promise of a new technology unveiled in Abu Dhabi. A UK company says its AI can crack complex financial crimes in minutes, a task that takes human investigators weeks. Take a look at our next report.
Criminals are good at hiding behind shell companies, fake structures, and endless paper trails. They leave millions of data points that no human can ever check in time. But now, Abu Dhabi has unveiled a new kind of crime fighter, an AI tool called the Investigator, a digital detective that can do weeks of work in minutes. The platform scans records, media stories, and regulatory filings, linking clues instantly. It's like a super fast brain that never gets tired and never misses a pattern, and it's not just for banks. This tool can be used in real estate, law firms, even government agencies. Launching it in Abu Dhabi has its reason. The city is pouring billions into AI as part of its Falcon economy. Supporters say this could change compliance forever, turning slow, manual checks into something instant and automated. The message is clear: fraudsters can still hide, but AI is now ready to look where they least expect.
Now let's take a look at other stories making headlines across West Asia.
Israel's top film prize has sparked political fallout. The Sea, a drama about a 12-year-old Palestinian boy who was denied entry to Tel Aviv, swept the Ophir Awards, winning Best Feature, Best Screenplay, and Acting honors. But Israel has announced it will halt state funding for the awards and the 2026 ceremony. The film, backed by the Israel Film Fund, will now represent Israel in the Oscars race, even as film workers for Palestine call for a global boycott of Israeli cinema institutions. Saudi authorities have shut down at least 24 popular lounges in Riyadh and Jeddah, venues that offer live music and shisha, in a kingdom where such entertainment was once banned. Officials cite public health violations, but critics see a conservative backlash against spaces where men and women mix freely. The crackdown highlights the tensions in Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman's modernization drive between expanding entertainment options and conservative pushback against rapid social change. Saudi Arabia will host the region's first ever Bio Middle East from May 11th to May 13, 2026 in Riyadh. A landmark biotech event backed by the Ministry of Health, the gathering will bring together global industry leaders, innovators, and investors to drive partnerships, showcase cutting-edge biotech, and boost job creation and investment. Officials say the event underscores the kingdom's ambition to become a global hub for life sciences and advanced vision, 2030 goals in health, research, and economic diversification.
And thank you for watching the West Asia Post. Tune in to WION every Friday for the biggest stories from the region. Thank you so much.